This video assumes that you've already watched the first video in this series and you know how to search for a jQuery plugin. I will be focusing on this particular jQuery image lightbox tutorial throughout the remainder of the sequence. And when you find a jQuery plugin you like, there's some things you should do before committing to sorting through it. And oh, as a side note, there is one other place that I've gone to quite a bit, and it's called CSS Tricks. I am totally derailing for just a moment. Here, I haven't been here in a while, so I can't speak to it as of, say, I don't know, the last 6 or 8 months. But a lot of the jQuery plugins that I've gotten in the past, I have found on here. So this is somewhere where you can search for something, um, and they just, they have a tendency to have infinite all scrolling slideshow. They have a lot of stuff here. So then you can go through, and there's usually a demo, view demo, and you can decide if you like the demo or not. So they're saying that this is what you're going to get if you buy it. So the demos don't always look like that going into, hold on, going into a little panel like that. But anyway, just so you know, there's like this one place that I have been and I've had good luck with it. So what do you do when you find the thing that you like? And in this case, I will close my search window now and close that. So with this particular one, there's a few things I want to do. One of them is, what kind of support is there in understanding how to actually implement this thing? Well, it says it has a tutorial, which I think I already have open over here. So click on that. Click on the instructions. Start reading through the instructions. Do they sound like something that makes sense to you? Or is this person assuming you have a lot of script knowledge and they're going straight into some pretty heavy duty stuff? So how does this make sense? Do the instructions make sense? And the next thing that I will do is I will test the demo. I think this is the demo. I'll test this demo before I go any further, and I'll look at it in a few browsers. And that may seem pretty simplistic, but it's such an important step. I had a project a year ago that we found a really great slideshow for. So this is it in Internet Explorer 8. And oh, drop shadow's even working there, which I wasn't expecting. The gallery was exactly what we wanted, and life was looking good. And then I was building the site. The client had approved the gallery. I was building the site, and suddenly, as I was browser testing in a bunch of different platforms, one of which was IE9, I noticed that the slideshow never loaded. So this is me now looking at this in Chrome. And yeah, it turns out that the slideshow, there was an issue. Everything, like, there were a lot of features in it that did work, fortunately, in 9, and fortunately other people have come across this problem. But I shouldn't be troubleshooting a plugin after the client's seen it and approved it. If you really, really like a particular plugin, you go test that thing out before you show it to a client, way before you show it to a client. You make sure it works in as many, do you need to, in many platforms as possible. So do you need to work on an iPad? Do you need to work on mobile phone? I mean, what are you doing? What are you promising them? And go test it in all those areas before you show it to them. It doesn't take long to test. There are testing services out there that I use where it's a little more exhaustive, but test to the very best of your ability. And I usually test in the most 2 recent versions of browsers. So well, 10 is out right now, but really I am looking at that just to see, because there is a beta version of it, but I'm mostly testing in IE9 and IE8. Chrome, the last 2 versions. Firefox, Safari, those are my big targets. I'll look at it on a tablet or a mobile phone just so I know what's going on, but unless tablet and mobile phone integration is part of the project plan. I just tell them, that's not part of the project plan. So if you would like us to test for that, we would need to do that, it's additional. And then we'll test to see if this works on there. So that would be the next step. And then usually these things come with a file to download. And I'll come back up here in a moment. So they're saying there's a preview. And this looks, now I have never ever used this this plugin before, so this could go horribly wrong as I move along, but this is a real honest experience, like what you might experience as well. So I am going to download the file. So it's saying download jQuery Lightbox gallery file. So this is the jQuery Lightbox gallery. That's what they're calling it. So they're saying download all the files that go with this. And he's saying included in the jQuery image gallery tutorial files, you've got thumbnail images, the larger counterparts, his charming heart-shaped background, a blank Polaroid effect, the JavaScript CSS files. Also included are the finished files. Now that's what I care about, are those finished files at this point as I'm just testing. So I can just save link as and download it onto my computer, and then I am going to pause so I can get to my folder. Now my first odd thing just came up as I was looking at this. I downloaded what is a RAR file. So there's zip files and RAR files, and you can't unzip a RAR file. It's a different piece of software. So most of them come in zip formats. This one, and I will make a note here to put up a zip version, and I will also put up a link to the tutorial that I'm using. So what I did is I took this RAR, and in my case I thought, I think I've had to deal with extracting a RAR before. So if you happen to have that on your computer, which if you're dealing with downloading a lot of different things from the internet, you probably already are familiar with extracting a RAR file, or the contents of a RAR file. So I saw that I have the 7-zip here, and I thought, well, what the heck is that? And I have no idea the last time I used 7-zip, but here it is. So we've got 7-zip beta, and that is one way to extract RAR files. So what I did is, I should go back there for you, as I right-clicked, I saw the 7-zip option, right-clicked on it, clicked on this, and clicked extract, and then it asked where I wanted to extract it to, which I just want to keep it in the same folder here. And now this is the common structure that you'll see. You might see some instructions here. They've given you exactly how things should look in the head of your document, which is very nice. That's more than normal. And then you usually have some images that come with it, and see, like some of these we need to keep. These are navigation images, but the cool part is you see what's going on here. If you know how to create a GIF, you could create your own custom spinner. The Polaroid that sits behind the images, you definitely could create something different and have it, just save it as Polaroid ping. I can see the dimensions of that. And then blank, that probably plays into something with the interface. Then there's these demo images and the thumbnails. So usually with the kind of lightbox that we're building, there's usually thumbnails, and then there's usually the big version. Some will be able to convert the big file into a thumbnail version for you, so you won't have to have 2 sets, but it's more common to have the 2 sets. Anyway, back to what I would normally look for. I would look for something like finished files, or I open up pretty much everything in here. I want to see what all is here. So I have jQuery JavaScript, I have this Lightbox, jQuery Lightbox. So this is probably the jQuery framework. So this is you install Windows operating system. It's kind of like that. This is the base to make the magic happen, and then this is the custom JavaScript file for what we're about to do. So we'll need both of those. CSS, there's usually one CSS file, sometimes more, but normally one. And then we have the finished files. And so this is a whole finished set. Now, a lot of times when I get things, like these guys are very, very thorough, and this is something to keep in mind as we have this Dreamweaver tutorial.co.uk, because the more I look at this, and I'm impressed in what I see so far, who knows how it'll all work out, but it's looking good. They have a whole folder showing you this is the finished project, which when I'm testing things out, I care about that. Where's that finished project? Frequently, there'll be either an HTML file sitting out here that's got it's pulling in stuff from these folders, whatever. You need to find, it might be called like demo.html or something like that. You need to find that, because now that you've downloaded it, this is the script. This is these are the scripts. This is the CSS. These are images. All of this needs to work. Even though it works up on their website, that's great. You're downloading an instance of what's supposed to do the same thing as you see online, but how do you know you have a correct version, or do you have a buggy version? So I'm going to double click on Finish Files, and I will double click on lightbox.html, and I see it works the same as everything else. And the reason I chose this one, I don't know if I mentioned in the last video, is I like that we could have captions here. I know we can modify that font. You can have a background around your image. You can probably just get rid of that background if you don't want that Polaroid, though. These are things I'll talk about later, like how do you start customizing this. I mean, I don't want this to sit on a heart forever and a day. I just, that's just how they're giving this to me. But I'll take this again and this demo file, and I'll test it in the same browsers that I tested the online version, just to make sure we don't have any surprises. And if this were for a client, I would actually log into my service and I would test this through all the browsers that I care about. Now, why bother? Why do the online and then download and see if it works? Because if the online isn't working, then I stop. I mean, if they don't have their demo, then I stop. And the demo, if I see that it's working, I might only test that on a few. But then when I download this, that's the one I'm going to test exhaustively, because that's what I'm actually going to be using to make things work. Okay. And in my case, I know that this works. Up here, they're saying these are good files. So, if things got really sketchy, I would come in here and use what's working in his demo area. But hypothetically, these work. And like I said, this is very, very common to have a setup like this where you have these different folders for each little piece of the project. Okay, so that's like, how do you decide, how do you test your plugin? Well, that's the process I go through. There is no point in moving forward if you have unclear directions. There is no point in moving forward if this doesn't work on the platforms you need it to. Another thing you might want to do at the very, well, not in the very end, but in the process, is you might want to have a look at the code in your editor, assuming you're using Dreamweaver. So let's let that open. So I'm in Dreamweaver now, and I'm just looking. Okay, so they have a wrapper. Wrapper probably is for visual only. Yeah, when I look at it, it's got a height and that. So we probably, when we finally integrate this into our site, probably don't need to take wrapper with, but but you definitely have, because a lot of you are using like your outer wrappers called wrapper. So I might be able to just name it something different if I want to bring that. You probably need a containing box of sorts, but it may not need to be called that. This gallery probably matters. Then we have a div with a class of holder. Then I see I have a thumbnail. I see I'm linking to the large version. I see a tall building. So that's the name of, that's the title attribute for this hyperlink. Then we have the thumbnail. Then we see the width of the thumbnail. And then the alt attribute for that thumbnail. And then he closes out the div with the class of thumb, and he says, I'm closing the thumb class. And then we have another class called title, a tall building with large balconies. And you can even put HTML in there, which is awesome because I've had some captions where you just could not do that. So you couldn't like put paragraphs and stuff in there, which was really frustrating for certain clients when I've dealt with that before. Or, well, it has been frustrating. So this is another div for the title. So this looks pretty straightforward. I notice we're calling in this the CSS, and we have a Lightbox CSS, we have a jQuery Lightbox CSS. This might be his own styling, and then this might be what actually plays in with the script, talks to the script, or the script talks to it. And then we have our jQuery framework, and then we have the Lightbox, the specific JavaScript written in jQuery that makes this Lightbox happen. There's a script that's just put in the head that gets things moving. So we've got gallery. So we've got something with an ID of gallery, and if there's an anchor tag within it, it's going to trigger most likely the Lightbox to work. That's probably what this is. So this needs to be on the page. Something we can put in our template. And then I'm just going to look down here and see. It's very important that you look through the whole page once you download all this to see where all these scripts are and to see, does this look like something I can implement? Does the code look scary or not? So this looks pretty straightforward. Like I said, it's the first time I've looked at this particular jQuery Lightbox plugin, so it's very cool so far. I think it looks straightforward, and I think I'm sold on using it.